Hey, hello. uh, Let me see. I'm kind of waiting on John. I don't know if he's having trouble trying to log in or not, but I'm going to try to. Oh, he says he's here. Wait, did I send him? Let me resend him the invitation because it might have changed if I updated it, to be honest. Let me go back. Okay, where do I have him? Here it is. Let me see. I'm trying to try this new link. Yeah, it could be my fault because I think I went back after I had already scheduled it, and I had rescheduled. No, but I didn't change the time on this. I don't know. Either way, he's telling me he's at a different link. I think it might be an old link that I sent him. Hopefully, he'll be popping in here pretty soon. But anyways, let me take a moment to acknowledge all you guys that are coming in. I want to say thank you guys for joining me. Very first one in here was Wise Fish Keeping. I think I've seen them in somebody else's stream yesterday, but I think that's the first time that I've seen them. Thank you for being here. Then we got Mel from Fishscapes Scapades. Sorry. We got Fathom Aquatics. Alex, thank you for being in here. There he is.
Hey,
there he is. John, sorry, I think I sent you an old link.
It's okay. It's my first time doing this kind of stream.
Yeah, don't worry. Let me go ahead and acknowledge the people that have been here, and then we'll get into our conversation. Just want to say quick, the Bud Files, thank you for joining us today. Jody P, thanks for being here. In My Tanks, Nick, thanks for being here. Let's see, we got Price Tag Joe, thanks for being in here. Let's see, am I caught up? I think hopefully I didn't. Oh, Linda Worth, thank you for being here. And I think that's everybody so far. I know people trickle in as we get going. So with that being said, John, thank you so much for accepting the invitation. I really appreciate you wanting to come on.
Thank you. Thanks for the invite. I saw you at Joe's store.
Yeah, well, I've kind of known Joe for I think almost on 2 years now, and Joe was an integral part of me setting up the aquarium at the Children's Museum down here in Yuma. So he's the one that helped me get some of the plants that I installed in there, and the biggest thing was getting the canister filter from their name Seashay. He's the one that was able to, through their representative, which is Jay Wilson. They were able to donate a nice one of those whale canister filters for that aquarium. So that was a high ticket item that I didn't have to pay for. So that was greatly appreciated.
Well, do they need fish food? I can donate some.
I think when I've been talking to Summer, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure they would appreciate the donation. Because I know she's been buying. What did I try to remember what it is that I gave her the first time? I think it was Basilier. I think which Dr. Basilier. I think it was a can of that because that was donated through Keith from KJE Aquatics. I had quite a few people that actually from the community that were integral part of helping me put that together. So, and then I got a donation from Fathom Aquatics. He donated a gift card from Aquarium Co-op, so that helped me get some products to start it up. I've got some food, and I believe some chemicals from KJE Aquatics, and then Warrior Planet Tags donated all the fish for that aquarium. So it was a nice little project. It was really interesting, but it wasn't something that I asked for. It was just the people reached out and said, hey, kind of like what you did to me, and said, hey, would you be interested in doing something with us? And so I thought that was very, very special that they were willing to participate. They're a big part of what they did for the community here. And I'm very thankful for that. I don't forget those things. So John, I know this is the first time we've actually met. I mean, we've had a little bit of conversations back and forth and messaging and stuff like that. First of all, I want to say not only thank you for being here today as my guest, but also for sending me a sampler of your food. I really appreciate that. This is the first time that I've had experience with it. As a matter of fact, the only time that I've ever seen it was at Joe's store when they were moving from Tempe to Mesa. I went to visit a couple of the week before they did the opening, and that was the first thing that Joe immediately told me. He goes, "Have you checked this food out?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "You need to try this food." And he's been your biggest champion that I know of out there.
Yeah, they've been so helpful. We were right when we were ready to launch, they were moving stores, and then they started carrying it in Tempe. And then he called me and he was like, "Hey, so like I'm really busy with the new location, but how about why don't you come to the new location before we're open, and then you can just set up a shelf there?" And I was like, "Oh man, that's like the biggest opportunity." I was so glad they liked it. And then the biggest help has been the feedback. So for like the product development, making sure the feed is good. You can ask, I ask customers what they want and stuff, but like asking the store owners what is really good and what people really like has been so helpful for, And
Yeah,
also he's pushed me like out of my comfort zone too, to get more on social media and stuff. And he's like trying to get me in front of the camera to do little Instagram reels and stuff. And yeah, they're very, very nice people.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I found very interesting about your guys' product is there's another content creator. I hate the fact that I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's the one that I watched the video. I think he was one of the first ones that you actually sent out one of these food kits to him. And one of the things that I really, really found interesting, because I've never had this experience before, he was really talking about what you just said. The fact that you guys want to get feedback from the consumers to see what can be improved or what can be changed or what can stay the same. I've never known of any other food product company that's out there that is publicly going out and saying, "Yes, give us feedback. We want feedback on what on what you think of our product." And I think that's really good. That's really incredible, because as somebody that has a fish room and is breeding and stuff like that, sometimes we're always looking for that one item that'll help us be more successful when it comes to what we're doing. And to know that you guys are very open about that was very, very interesting.
Yeah, because like I know about fish, but like I don't know everything. And sometimes it's like you have a batch of like 15 or 20 new products, and you don't know. Sometimes one that you're not expecting is really popular, and then you're kind of like, "Oh, why?" And like someone on TikTok was using our algae discs to feed her reef, like her tangs, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know why." Like we have seaweed sheets, and they dissolve too quickly, like nori. They always do. Everybody's seaweed sheets, they're not perfect. They make a mess in the reef tank. And then she's feeding our like our pleco wafers to her tangs, and she's like, "Oh, they're so good." And then I was thinking, like, why isn't this a thing? Like, and so we're working on a mega disc. It's like imagine an algae disc that's like thinner, like a dumpling peel, but like hard. Yeah. And then, I don't know. I get more ideas from other people than from myself. So,
well, and that's what's really interesting, because I know what people don't realize is that they think, well, some people, especially if you're new into the hobby, you go under the assumption because it says the food is for saltwater fish that you can't use it for your freshwater fish, or vice versa. And the reality is food is food, and you'll be surprised. I don't know if a lot of the times it's just an advertisement strategy from the companies. An example of that is like everything you see, advertised like for betta automatically has a higher price tag when it's no different than anything else you can probably pull off the shelf. But because it says betta food, it garners a little bit higher market value, I guess, in the retail market, and especially when it comes to products and stuff like that.
Definitely. I think, yeah, we've been test selling beta food for almost 5 years. And I haven't launched a beta food yet because I really need to get it to be special. But the thing, it's like, it's basically just like any high protein 1 millimeter floating pellet it's what they need. And I also think it's probably because a lot of people new to the hobby keep betas first, so they don't know what the price, they have no expectation for what the pricing should be. So I think a lot of companies could just make more margin selling to a group, like a segment that's less knowledgeable about, or like.
Well, and I think the other thing also, when you start talking about betas, is you buy a small can of beta food and it's going to last you a long time because you're not really feeding a whole lot if you're doing it correctly, right? If you're really taking into consideration how much food they'll consume, a little can will last you a few months because it's only like a few pellets that you're feeding at a time. So yeah, I can see why. And you'll be hard pressed to find a canister this big that's for beta food, just for that same reason, because it just goes a long ways.
Yeah,
and most people just have one beta.
And it makes it extra tricky too, because like when you're selling online, people are going to do a price comparison. Like they'll look at the weight, they'll look at the protein, they'll look at the price. So if you're next to a competitor that's like 50 grams and yours is like 5 grams, they're going to be like, oh, I'm going to get 10 times more. And it's only like $1 more, but it's going to go rancid. And yeah, I've been talking to Joe and Kat at Chlorophyll Corner. I've been talking to Aquaholics, and I have all these beta prototypes, and I got the pack made for it and everything. I don't have like the final ingredient list, but
Yeah, that's fine.
Concept. And I'm like, okay, like I want to do like probably 25 grams because I think that's like a good place to enter for online. And then they're like, no, it should be like 3 grams. And I'm like, oh, that's like, it's so little food. I don't know how it's like,
The packaging will cost more than the value of the food that's in it.
yeah, the whole thing is so like Hikari has it. They've got like a 1.5 gram, and I can't believe how. And it's the right thing to do, especially for a fish store, because then, people should frequent the local fish store and then keep buying it fresh, so you don't have it sitting around for a year. It's been so tricky. That's why we don't have a beta food yet, because it's more testing. And we even got like prototypes and put them on these little gift cards and sent them out with all our orders. And we created a survey on our website. So we're trying to invite people in the community to give us feedback on it. So we give them these different prototypes and say, like, what did you like about it? How did it smell? Did the beta eat it? Stuff like that.
These are the sample packages that you guys will mail to somebody, right? The free samples that you guys give out?
Yeah.
So if anybody that's interested in trying out the food, I think you go to your website. They pay for the postage. That's the only thing you're really paying for. And you guys will send out a little care package for them to try out.
Yeah, we're charging for shipping now just because we can't keep up with how many we got, like how many requests we got. But probably soon we're catching up and we'll get it back to like 0 shipping. Just like give us your address and then we'll send you the samples. We went viral over Christmas break, and I got like 1,000 requests for those samples when it was with the free shipping. And my wife was like, oh, my phone just keeps buzzing over and over. And so I had to like try to slow it down somehow. So I just added the shipping. So now it's like more manageable.
Now you guys do carry, if I was looking on your guys' website, you do carry bulk food, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, because that was one of the questions they were asking, if you have the bulk option. And I think is that relatively a new option that's available, or is something that you guys always had from the go?
It's something that we're offering on our website exclusively. And it's pretty much always in stock. If something's not listed as bulk yet, it's probably because we don't have enough stock. of it. But eventually, yeah, we want to have everything available.
So before we get any further in, let's take a step back because I want to get your a little bit of your background. Who, how did you come to be into the hobby? What, that kind of stuff. So if you can give us a little bit about your previous experiences. I've read a little bit about on the emails that you guys send out for the newsletters. So I kind of filled in a little bit of the gaps in there, but I still like to be able to hear it from you. If you give us a little bit of your background and where, I guess, brings up current up till today.
Okay. So super long time ago when I was at ASU, I worked at Aquatouch. And well, I've been obsessed with aquariums since I was a kid. So when I was in college, I was like, oh, I definitely want to work at Aquatouch. And it was really awesome. I got into aquascaping mostly and got very into it. And then finished undergrad. I opened a store in New Jersey, a really small like ADA store. So we got an ADA distributorship, and then we were the only ADA store east of the Mississippi, but it was pretty tough and kind of turned into a maintenance company. So we were maintaining like super nice tanks in Manhattan. So we eventually just used it like as an appointment only showroom to show the ADA stuff. And then we made all the money going into Manhattan to service like super high end tanks. But I really wanted to like make my own brands. Like when I was in undergrad, I was working on, I've had so many brands, a lot of like planted tank brands. And then, so we got out of the store cause it wasn't really making money, came back to Arizona and started the Glosso Factory brand, which is like targeting aquascaping basically. And this was like 2013. So it was before like Buse Plant was on the scene. It was around, the Sensky brothers from ADG, around when they started Aquavoss. That's when it was. And then there was a lot of people entering that space between 2013 to 2015. I think that's when Ultim Nature came around too. And a bunch of people entered. Then I went to grad school in Hawaii for 2 years, met my wife, and got an MBA to try to be better at business. And yeah, after that, we came back to Arizona again, and I just kept making brands. I think I made like 15 different brands so far. And this Aquatic Provisions is my latest, and I think my best.
From the beginning, has it always been that you wanted to do a business in this hobby, or it's just been different business ventures and you found that this is your passion, so you decided to stay with this?
Oh, I wanted to be in this hobby, definitely.
Okay.
Since I was a kid. Yeah, okay. I was like in the car in New Jersey I grew up in New Jersey, and my mom would take me to a fish store on the weekends. And I remember we were in the car and she's like my dad's an accountant, and she was like worked in the corporate stuff. And she was like, oh, I don't remember. We were talking about, what do you want to do when you grow up? And she said something about like, well, you better make sure that you really like it. And I didn't say it, but I was thinking like, oh, I really like going to the fish store. Like maybe I could do that. I was probably like 12 at the time. But since then, I just decided I have to do that.
Now, all the other brands or products that you've tried launching, they've all been aquarium related?
Yeah, I've done like collaborations with people. I became an expert on Amazon. So a lot of people will come to me and say like, oh, I want to sell this. I have this like thing like stationery or drinkware, things like that. So I've done a lot of collaborations with people. Some people I met in grad school and undergrad. But the stuff that I own has been only aquarium stuff. But
Okay.
I've done like contract manufacturing for different people and like contract brand development and different kind of e-commerce services for people.
Now, where does the idea to make a food, because it's such a competitive market, that's what I've always been intrigued with people that decide to get into this realm, because it's so competitive. What do you think is going to set you guys apart, and actually, deciding to come in and try to get into this market?
I think I'm better at research than the competition. And I think I can win. I think that's the main thing that sets it apart is people think about marketing like it's advertising, but I look at it like it's about research. It's about finding what people actually think.
Mm.
Like I have this joke, like we're coming up with the brand. So this brand we've been working on for about 2.5 years. And the tagline is share happiness with happy fish. And I was like to say like, oh, the other fish food companies, they don't care about your happiness. Like they just don't care about their customers' happiness. And I feel like it's kind of a joke, but it's kind of true. Like in the past, all the really successful products I've had, I put myself into the like, what is the customer experiencing? So it's all about customer experience and learning about how, how they feel, how something makes them feel. And it sounds kind of like woo woo or something, but it's all about the feeling that the customer gets. So it's got to meet their expectations. It's got to be good. It's got to be quality, trustworthy, and then you have to communicate that. So I think that's why we can win, because I think I'm pretty good at that. So
Now, the products you guys are using, and obviously you don't need to get too far into it, because I know some of that stuff could be confidential information, but are you guys creating your own formula, or are you guys repackaging products that are already out there?
we're doing everything. So
Okay.
we are developing our own recipes, and we also work with manufacturers in the US, 3 or 4 different manufacturers in the US that we cooperate with. And then we have a few manufacturers in China, especially the like our freeze dried stuff that's coming from China. We've tried some flakes and different pellets from China too. So our attitude is kind of if the quality is really good and we can trust the supplier, then we'll go ahead with development for it. And it's like trusting that, obviously we trust that they're not going to, rip us off, but we need to make sure that that supply is going to be there later. I've had other brands before, other companies, where we run out of like one thing and then it's like, oh, you're missing out. And it's such a pain. But yeah, we're doing everything. And okay. So actually, let me just show you around. So
Okay.
when we started, I bought every fish food on the market. So I got this out for the stream to try to help show. So these are all the major fish food brands.
Wait up. Let me get you on the big screen. Let me switch this over, and we'll do this. All right.
This is kind of how this is the major players in the last 3 years, or at least if not the biggest market. They were interesting enough to study. So we looked at more brands than that, but we combed through everything and then found either if it's a really big brand or if it's something really interesting. We put it onto that chart. We studied all the brands. We bought everything. We tried it ourselves. I tried it on a bunch of different people too and asked how they felt. So I'd ask people how they felt about using other brands, and go through these specific questions. And then combed through like I couldn't do all like 40 fish food brands, but I picked about 10 and combed through every review and sorted by good reviews, bad reviews, and then have a list of here's the top 5 reasons why people dislike this specific fish food from this brand. Here's the top 5 reasons why people like this specific fish food. And then that was really helpful in like starting to figure out where to enter. Because it's kind of like, oh, what do you do? Just like get some flakes and try it. But and there was some of that a couple of years ago. I was trying to test out some of the supply chains. So there were times when we had like 500 pounds of extra pellets, and I'm like, I don't know what we're gonna do with this. And yeah, I don't know if that. Yeah, I forget what you asked me, but I think
no. That was pretty much it. It's just kind of what was your I guess research and development to be able to come up with the food. Now, before I ask you the other question, is there a possibility of doing an all vegetable flake, like for good eats and stuff like that are high, that require a high vegetable diet, some African cichlids and stuff like that? Is that something that you guys have looked into or not?
I'm going to write it down. I think I've seen it, but it's not something I'm actively developing right now.
Yeah.
But I'll put it on the list. There's a list. Just a flake that's all veggies, so like no fish meal, no.
I guess that's actually I'll if you don't mind, I'll give Ed your information to reach out to you, and you guys, because I know that's specifically what he breeds, and there's a huge community of people that breed that type of fish that would probably be very interested in that food. So that might be something that would be a better suited conversation between the two of you, because he might have more specifications as to what they're looking for when it comes to a food like that. I do more of the community stuff because that's more of the types of fish that I have. But one of the things that I did want to ask you was, for a person that's coming into the hobby, what are the things that you would recommend that they look at when they look at the back of the ingredients of the food that'll allow them to say, yeah, this is a better product than this product? What are some of those things that for people that are just coming in might be curious and going, well, how do I know this is a good food? What are some of the things you would suggest that they pay attention to?
So I think the generic answer would be, look for a high protein content and stuff like that. But I'll tell you the most basic thing. If you look at it and there's streaks of different colors, like around the edge, it's like lighter, it just means it's oxidized. So the only thing that makes fish food bad is if it's old and spoiled.
Yeah.
Generally, like, it's almost all the fish food on the market is good. That's why it's still on the market. It's kind of hard to find food that's not really good, but people do sell expired food, and sometimes it's old. So
I think it's more of the
varies.
Like, usually you look at the back of the food, the breakdown's going to give you a crude protein, it's going to give you a crude fat and stuff like that. What are some of the things that people that are looking for a good quality food, when they look at yours and go, okay, this is why this makes it better than say Extreme, which would probably be a competition that's in the market with you guys, to make them determine, yeah, this is a better quality product? What are some of the key things in the back of the information that will help you be a better consumer?
I think Extreme is like one of the good ones. They're pretty good. It should have, it depends on what fish you have, but generally high protein. More fat will spoil faster.
Okay.
So I don't think it's that important what the fat content is. You'll hear otherwise, but I'm just saying generally. And the vitamins that are added. And the vitamins, so if the ingredient list is really long, most of it should be vitamins. Some of the ingredients sound bad too, like gluten meal, corn gluten meal. If the first ingredient is fish food, it's probably like a pretty good staple. Did I say fish food? I meant fish meal.
Yeah.
Yeah, fish meal as the first ingredient is good. Once you get to the fifth or sixth ingredient, it's usually fish meal and then a couple binders, and they'll do like 3 to 5 different binders so that the binders aren't the main ingredient, because it's got to be in order from most to least. So if like saying fish meal and then wheat and then corn and then soy and then rice bran, and then it sounds better than just first ingredient is wheat meal or something like that.
Okay.
But I don't think people need to be too critical about it. Just make sure it's fresh. And if it changes color, it's spoiled. Use it quickly, keep it sealed. It's kind of hard to go wrong. And I don't want to be like, oh, the other food's horrible. A lot of it's good.
Yeah, no, the reason before I even follow up with that is they're asking if you guys donate to aquarium societies, fish clubs, stuff like that.
Yes, if there's anyone, we get asked like really frequently. If there's anyone I didn't get to yet, sorry, I'm gonna get through that. We do, especially locally. I think there's a few I haven't answered yet. We usually get a couple of requests per week.
No, okay. Now the reason I was asking that is because what would be your, if you had to sell somebody on your product, what is it the one thing that you would say your product is probably a better value than say Tetra or say, I guess that's really what I want to know, because if somebody's looking at because this is relatively a new food product in the market.
Yeah. So
compared to some of the other ones that are there.
Yeah. So like specifically and not in broad terms, we'd have to go SKU by SKU. So I could tell you for each different group why it's better. So like let's compare the tiny fry powder and the small fry powder to the Hikari First Bites. First, our ingredients are better. It's fresher, higher protein, and you get like so much more value. So I think the Hikari First Bites are sold in 10-gram packs. I think you can get them like a 3-pack of 10 grams on Amazon for like probably like $12 or something. So that's like 30 grams for $12, but we sell 50 grams for $9.90, and it's also better. Yeah, we could just go. So when we develop a SKU for each one of these, we do a ton of research on all the competition, and we make sure that we have a way to be competitive and win and differentiate for each one. So it's hard to say, because some of them compete on value, like price, you're getting more. Some of them compete on higher protein. The thing they all compete on is definitely the freshness and not being oxidized. And I think what we're going to probably stick to is anything that's more than one ingredient we'll make entirely in the US. And then for single ingredient feeds, we just need to source that from where it comes from. So that could be from Asia or China or wherever we can get it.
Yeah, one of the things that really, really struck me was when I went to go see Joe's store, the Chlorophyll Corner, was the extent that your fish food line has. I mean, it is. I mean, I don't know if it was just a display that you were able to set up there, but I've never seen so many options to the point where I didn't know what to get because there's so many options.
Yeah, we have.
I mean, your freeze dried section. I mean, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I also think it's not enough. So I'm trying to do at least one group per month now. But I still see that we should be doing more, because the more different feeds we offer, the more opportunity we have to find one that people really like. And that's the reason to make so many, to discover something.
Yeah, from the ones that I got, the one that I'm really, really happy that I received is the tiny fry powder, which is the one you were just talking about. This stuff is great, especially I wish I would have had this when I was trying to rear the angelfish, the wigglers, from the wigglers to a free swimming state. If I would have had something like this, because the problem where I'm at is I'm only limited to a PetSmart. So whatever they carry is the only food that I have access to, unless I start ordering online and stuff like that. Or I drive up to Phoenix and then happen to remember when I'm at the store. That's the biggest thing, is remember when you're at the store that you need something, because you end up bringing everything else that you didn't need except for what you needed. But yeah, I'm really excited right now. I have some Cory eggs that I just hatched out, and so I've been feeding them this. I'm a big fan of your guys' community granules, because most of my fish are either live bears, so nothing very large. So for me, these have been working out really, really good. I love the fact that some of them will float, other ones will sink. So a lot of my aquariums are set up where I have live bears on the top and I have Corys on the bottom. So I don't have to worry about getting food to the bottom quick enough, because the way this disperses in the tank, you'll have some of it that'll stay at the surface and some of it that'll sink. So everybody gets to eat. And that's one of the things that I have noticed, especially about the two community ones, that I've really liked. And right now you can see this one is this size is the one that it's been basically feeding all my fish. And I've got even probably a tilapia that's like, what, 4 inches, almost 5 inches big, and he's still this is what I feed. I don't go having to worry about making sure that I get a bigger pellet. So that's what I've been liking. The other feature that I like is this little spout. And I don't know, I've been meaning to ask you, where did this idea come from? Because it really helps it when you're trying to feed. It seems like you have a lot more control when you're feeding the food.
So my wife, my mom, and my sister are not really fish keepers, but they've kept fish because I love it so much. I've got a 5-year-old son and a 4-year-old daughter. And because we went through a lot of different cap types, I basically make a prototype and give it to them and say, okay, feed my fish with this, and then just watch what they do. And the one thing, like, especially my wife and my mom would say is, I don't want to touch it. Like, because they're not really fish keepers. Yeah, especially like the bloodworms, sludge worms, like water, for whatever reason, and I don't really blame them. They were like, I don't want to touch it. So then I was like, okay, some of the competitors give you a little
scoop,
like
or
tongs or a scoop, right, in the package. And I was like, okay, we could do this, put it together. And then we were playing with some different caps, some flip caps. And then it just came, I figured, okay, if we do this cap, so we pre-punch the holes for everybody. So the size of this hole varies based on how much we want to come out, based on what we think the typical user would want to feed. So some of them are like much larger, some are smaller. So we've got different punches we use. It's a headache to keep track of what goes with what, but We want to optimize. We just want the experience to be. We want to take the extra step to
Make it easy.
Yeah, to make the experience good.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I know the only product that I've ever seen come similar to this is what Crayon Co-op sells for what they call their fry food, and where they put it in the plastic bottle and stuff like that. But you know what? I hadn't noticed that the openings on these are actually different until you pointed it out. Now, I mean, I'm still going through all of these, but that's actually an interesting fact about these. Because it always seems,
because we could do it without punching it, we'd save so much time. Actually, just screw it on. But if you'd have to cut it yourself, you might accidentally cut it
too far.
Yeah, you might cut it too high up or too low, and then you won't really have as good of a time, because you might say, oh, it comes out too fast or too slow. But yeah, we used to do this. I've worked at a bunch of fish stores, and the baby bottles was always the idea, because then you can just go one-handed and just kind of feed everything real quick.
Yeah, that's what I really like about it, because I just go in there, depending on how many fish I had there, it's one tap or two taps, and it always seems to be pretty consistent, the amount of food that I'm getting delivered, which really makes it easy. Somebody was saying use gloves, but the problem with that is it's a whole process, and by the time you get them on, I know if I'm trying to use any of those like latex gloves, it's always a pain in the butt if your hands are either sweaty or wet to be able to slide it on, and so that would kind of make it a little bit harder to try to feed. But I really thought that was a really cool delivery mechanism versus having to open it up. I know some people, some foods do smell more than others and stuff like that. So this makes it real easy. You deliver, you cap it off, and away you go. And so that's something that I really appreciated from the product. At first, I wasn't sure about it. I was looking at that and I was kind of, how's this going to work out? But once you start using it, I don't know. I really like it. I've used stuff like this. Only issue I have with this is the opening is too narrow. You try to get your hands in there, even when you're trying to scoop, especially when it gets down to the bottom. It's just or you lose a little delivery spoon, and now I got to figure out how much food I'm pinching in and stuff like that. So it's
have you seen those the like Hikari, the packaging for the beta food, the new packaging has that like kind of spout on the bottom of a pack.
Mm-hmm.
If you use that, what do you think about that? Because I feel like it looks like it should work, but I get a little bit frustrated.
The problem is, how do you keep it fresh? How do you reseal it? Once
that it's a cap, it's got a little cap.
Oh, it has a cap on it. Yeah, I haven't. I don't. I'm because I have a fish room. I do have bettas, but I don't buy betta specific food, to be honest. I feed them community food. I mean, I literally, this is the food that is driving my fish room for the most part. And I love it because I don't have to worry about, I got to give these guys this, and I just go around, tap it, feed whatever it is that I need to feed, and get on with it. I've always been more practical when it comes to feeding my fish than really overthinking it too much, where these fish, I have to worry more about a certain diet. Then that's why I like the community foods a lot more. But I know people that are breeding more species that require a different diet. That would probably be a different case for them. For me, most of mine are all community fish. When I was breeding the plecos, that was a little bit different because it's wafers. You could throw wafers, you could throw green beans, you could throw, there's more options. But for the most part, unless I was target feeding them, they would still get the same thing as everybody else. And so that to me, in that aspect, that's really what's been my case in the fish room. The other thing for me, because I've tried the gamut of all the fish foods, from everything you could buy at a PetSmart, from obviously, some of the higher end stuff. And quite honestly, I personally have not seen a drastic difference from one food to another. Like I remember trying the extreme krill flakes because everybody was really talking highly of them, and that the fish would just go crazy, and the coloration. If I'm being 100% sincere, I didn't notice any difference from the extreme krill than the stuff I was buying from Ken's Fish Food as bulk. I didn't notice that difference, but maybe it's because um, it has to be something where you're feeding over a prolonged period of time to really notice a difference, versus maybe one or two cans of that food product, where
Well,
you're not going to get those results.
I think everybody's packing it with astaxanthin and different carotenes and stuff like that. So I think if you wanted to actually note the difference, you'd have to feed something really simple for like 3 months and then switch to something with a lot of carotene in it. And then you'll see it. Like I saw on some guppies, like even the females are like turning like it's the same compounds, it's the same carotene that everybody uses. Different natural pigments that are going to change their color. So your fish were probably already colorful, and that's why you didn't notice a difference.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's just, but I don't feed a lot either. That's the other thing. It's just I've gotten to the point now where slowly and I don't know if that's going to be a detriment to my fish breeding, but this last time when I was trying to collect fish to take to Joe, it was a pain in the butt because all my aquariums have plants and stuff in there in the whole tank. I have a really bad habit of not leaving aquariums alone. I always try to make them look pleasantly appealing to me. I don't know. So the problem is I end up throwing plants in tanks that are only supposed to be specifically for breeding. So by the time I have to go collect fish, I'm having to struggle and fighting with, trying to get plants out of the way, trying to, bring down the water levels to be able to scoop fish out of there quickly. So I don't know if that has allowed it's great for breeding because it gives not only the fry somewhere to hide out, but I think it has a more complete ecosystem within the aquarium where if it's just a bare bottom tank. I tried doing it even with this last setup that I did, and I couldn't get away from not figuring out a way to get plants in there. But that's just me.
Let's see if we can.
Yeah, that's
a little bit of glare on here, but
yeah, that's what my tanks look like that I'm breeding out of.
Just it is bare bottom, but I've got some cups with aqua soil in there, and then
that's what I've kind of resorted to doing too, because I just can't get away from not having live plants in my aquariums.
I don't even know how many fish are in there. I gotta dig around in there. There's probably a million hiding.
I know somebody was asking, what's your opinion on the snowflake type of foods for shrimp and stuff like that? Is it something? Do you think it's necessary? Not. I mean, what's your take on it? I guess.
So we're developing some shrimp foods, and it's taking forever. It's literally taking forever. The snowflake stuff that's made from like the husk of the soy husk, I guess. I don't think it hurts. I don't think it would hurt, but I don't know if it's. I don't know. I don't know if it's totally necessary. If you like it, I don't think it's going to hurt, but your shrimp tank should have enough in there so you don't have to be feeding all the time. And then when you do feed, it should be like pretty targeted with what the shrimp really need. If the tank's more bare, I don't know. I can't say. I don't know enough yet. I don't want to say. Yeah.
Yeah. The reason I'm saying is because that's Nick in my tanks. I love that young man because he does some deep dives. I really admire the research that he'll do when he finds a product. And he did something about Bacter E or Bacter. I forget what the name. I don't use those products, so I'm not really familiar with them. But he that's I guess that's where his question's leading to that. So that's why he was kind of curious about that. I personally have found that I just feed community pellets because I do have shrimp, and I have, whether they're straight lines or just my coals, all my tanks will have shrimp. Even if there's predatory fish in there, I usually will throw my coals into that, and if they get consumed, they just become part of the ecosystem. But what surprises me is that they'll thrive. You give them somewhere to hide out, and before you know it, you got a bunch of shrimp in there. And it's just, I just leave it as part of the ecosystem. Eventually, they still help me because they'll break down any waste or anything like that in there, so they don't bother me. There's not stuff that I could probably sell, other than somebody trying to buy feeder stuff. At that point, if I have too many, I guess I could do that. But I have shrimp in all my tanks. I have snails in all my tanks. It's just, like I said, I try to unconsciously, I guess, trying to create these little ecosystems. One of the things that I do love about having plants and being able to have a system like that, I can walk away from my fish room weeks at a time and not worry about my fish not having something to eat. This is why I also have like duckweed. As much as I hate it, I know that if I'm going to go on vacation, I'll leave it up there. Worst case scenario, the fish really get hungry, they're going to eat it. They'll eat it. They'll have something to munch on until I get back and be able to attend the fish room. So, but I don't know. I again, that's why I find it real difficult to the one breeding rack that I have to go away from what's worked for me for years and try to make it more efficient when it comes to collecting. That's the only reason I would even change my system, is because when it comes to collect, it makes it a lot easier. But you know, that's I guess we're here and there. Yeah, that's just, those are, but you know, for the most part, it's just stuff, like I said, a lot of live bears in my fish room. That's predominantly what I breed. Now I'm trying to get into more like egg layers and stuff like that. So that might change my opinion as to how I go about it, but I'll deal with that situation once I get to it.
So you're breeding angels now?
I was trying. I got into this thing where people were always saying that was like, if you're going to start breeding egg layers, that would be like the easiest one to start off with. I'm going to tell you what, people are lying. They're not being totally honest with it, because the biggest challenge that I had was not the fish will do what they do. They'll lay the eggs. You can retrieve them. I was getting successful where I could get them to the wiggler stage. My biggest problem was getting them past the wiggler stage. I couldn't crack the code on that until I started dealing with vinegar eels. That to me was the one ingredient, or the one item I was missing to be able to have success, because that food was small enough to where when they were free swimmers initially, you know, at the beginning, that they would be able to eat. And once I figured that out, I got to the point where I stopped breeding angels, because they just breed too much, and the market just kind of gets saturated, especially if I'm selling them here locally. Yeah. You know, it doesn't take it. You know, you get hundreds at a time that you grow out. And so I just kind of pulled all my pairs and threw them all in a community tank. If they happen to successfully rear them there, well, then I'll have more. But at the moment, I wanted to figure out how to do it. I learned it, figured it out, and now it's just kind of like, okay, let's move on to the next species. So right now I'm messing around with rainbow fish, and I'm trying to crack that code. But I know that now that I have this, the tiny powder food, this is probably gonna. The problem with dealing with live foods is it's another thing you have to keep alive. It's another thing you have to do maintenance on. And even though I haven't found anything that's comparable to that, but I'm more of a convenience, practical kind of person, especially because I work so many hours, and then I'm always working revolving shifts. Like, for example, today's my day off, and so is tomorrow, but then I'll go into working mornings, which is like from 6 to 2. So it's hard for me to stay on top of like cultures, if you have, especially when you start getting into like the micro worms, and all those other stuff. If you don't stay on top of it, it could go bad real quick, and then you have to deal with smells too. You know, that's the other downside of dealing with live foods. But I'm always looking for that one product like the fry food where it'll be able to replace some of the live foods for convenience more than anything else.
I'm curious. I'll follow up. I want to know how it goes with the rainbows with the fry powder. I haven't heard, at least I haven't heard anyone talk about using it for rainbows, but I'm sure it will work.
Well, I'm going to try it out. See, well, first of all, I got to make sure that I can get these guys conditioned enough to where they start laying eggs. Right now, my biggest challenge is I have some mollies in that tank that I've been slowly fishing out of there because I have mops in there, but I don't know. They might be picking off some of the eggs off of there, or my rainbow fish are not big enough yet to start laying eggs. So, but I just got these maybe a couple of weeks ago. No, it's going on 2 weeks ago. So it's still kind of soon to be able to, for me to be able to, I pull them off every so often, but I don't see any eggs yet. So I've been conditioning them with this though. I feed them this all the time. So we'll see. That's what Joe recommended when I picked up because I got the rainbows from him. And he goes, "Oh, if you're going to breed them, you got to take this with you." So that was my introduction to your guys' product.
Oh, nice. I'm going to start breeding red balloon mollies just for fun.
Well, I've been doing live birds because that's set it and forget it. Just add water and
yeah. It should be
happy. They'll do more.
There's like a lack of balloon mollies too around. Like, I don't know why. Like they're kind of funny looking. Like it'll be great. That's my next thing. Breeding. I've bred tetras, and that was probably the hardest. Did you breed betas yet?
Yes. Okay. And again, that's another thing. Once you figure out how to do it, unless you have a market to be able to, offload them, you can breed from any.
There's so many betas coming in, and they're always the best. They're always going to be way nicer because they have a million to pick from, and they're sending like the nicest betas that are coming into the U.S.
Well, that's the other thing that I don't hear people really talk about when they're breeding betas is how much you have to cull. Because not everything is gonna make it to market. So it's kind of like with people that breed African cichlids, the females. What do you do with the females? Because they don't want to buy the females. The females have no color, and that's the one problem that a lot of these guys get into. And then what do you do? Pretty soon, if you don't euthanize those fish, then you have tanks full of females and nothing to be able to do with them. So that's why I tried it just to figure it out and see if I could do it. And once I figure out, okay, I can do this, then I'll move on to something else. The good thing about live bears is there's always a market for live bears. People will always buy live bears. I mean, it's just, I don't know. That's people will always buy, and I can't make enough of them fast enough.
Yeah, I'm very into guppies. Always been into guppies. They're just so easy. Like everybody can have guppies. You don't need anything special. And then I for kids too, when they see the fry being born, that's like so special.
Well, not even kids. That's what I really find appealing is coming in and going, "Oh, I got a bunch of babies."
Yeah.
even as a grown adult man, I still get excited when I see little fry swimming around. The other question I had for you, which I always found interesting, and I kind of read a little bit about it, but it didn't really give me a lot of information, is your guys' logo. It's very interesting that you guys are using the biplane as your logo. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And here's the thing that I didn't realize until I really started looking at the package. When Joe showed me the food, I don't know why, to me, my eye, not paying attention to it, I thought it was like a Swiss food because it looked like the Swiss flag at a first glance. It's not until I really looked at it, I go, "Oh, it's a plane." But what's the story behind that?
I'll show you. So we're in Scottsdale, and This is, let's see if I can get this open. I don't know if you can see it. It's too bright. That's the control tower for the Scottsdale Airport. And I'm sitting here at my desk looking at these planes land for like a year working on my brand. And then there's this red biplane that lands like almost every day.
Oh, okay.
And I was looking at everybody's logos. You know what the problem is? They're all just fish. Everyone just has a fish in their logo. Like, some of them don't. But I was saying like, the natural thing to do, you're making a fish food company, just put a fish as the logo. But everybody has that. So I want it to be different. And I want it to be totally different so people could remember it. So like the Hikari logo is the sun. I don't know if anyone can picture the Hikari logo, but you don't think about it. Like, it's actually a sun. There's a couple that aren't fish, and I feel like those are the best logos. Like, because they're all fish, and everybody's just selling fish food. So what's the difference? Yeah, I like the plane. I don't know. There's some feeling about it. It kind of ties us to where we are. And then I have this fantasy of like an old biplane that's like dropping off provisions, like old Americana kind of general store feeling. And that just like makes me feel good. It makes me feel like real Americana stuff. But thanks for noticing it. I also wanted it to be simple enough to like have as a little logo, like almost a watermark. So something really simple too.
Yeah. And that was the other question. Like, why a plane? I was like, yeah. And I started out, it kind of led me to go try to find that information. And that's when I found out that, you guys are located right next to the airport in Scottsdale. And I was like, oh, okay. And I said,
like the best logos are like totally unrelated from what they are. Like the Coach or like some of those luxury brands too. They're like totally unrelated. And it's like, okay, yeah, can be whatever you want.
Yeah. What isn't the Coach actually a stagecoach, the logo?
Okay, that one makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Hermes, the Hermes. When I was making a logo, I also printed out like 50 different logos from like really successful companies. And I was like, okay, it's got to be as good. It's got to be like, it can't be like, some fish with too much going on. It's got to be simple. I also like maybe, like the BMW logo is like the
story behind it.
That might have like subconsciously made me think,
inspired you.
Yeah.
Well, I know when I was trying to create a logo for my channel and all that stuff, I don't know where I came across a video where they were talking about branding, and they were talking about how some of the biggest companies, it's very simple logo, like Apple. It's an apple that has that Nike is the swoosh, and I was like, and a lot of them it's just monochromatic, two colors are on the logos. So that's what inspired me to do mine. And a lot of the times it becomes where it's just recognizable. You don't even have to read what it says, but just the fact, and I think that's pretty cool because that really, you look at it and I know what that is. The minute you see it, once you realize what's on there, once you start associating the logo with the brand.
I think your branding is really tight. Like it's clean. It's
I wanted something that was very simple.
Yeah,
very simple. I mean, as simple as I could get it. And I know I've had people, like if you go on Instagram, you have all these guys that create all these logo types and stuff like that. And I ended up getting into not an argument, but a debate with one of the guys because he was insistent that he wanted to create a logo for me. I said, "What's wrong with my logo?" He goes, "Wow, it just doesn't pop." I said, "Really?" I said, because he sent me a whole page of all the logos that he had designed it, and it was what you were talking about. Everything had fish in them, and they all look very, very similar except for the names. And I told him, I said, okay, well, look, and I captured the image and I inserted my logo into it. I go, now look at it. Which one pops out? And he goes, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I said, it's just, it might not have all this flashy stuff on it, but just looking at it, even if you can't read what it says, mine stands out from all the ones you're trying to sell me on. So why do I need to improve my logo? And he goes, well, it's just, it doesn't have any fish. That was his only argument. It's like, well, I don't need it to have fish, but it stood out
like,
from
you know
everything
that you talked about fish already. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yours is like, it's really clear too. It's like,
yeah.
It's like, yeah, you don't even have to read it. And it's like your video, like just real quick.
Yeah. And I've noticed it, especially when one of the things that I was very cognizant about is like, if you look in the chat and a lot of the live streams, you look at all the little avatars, and I've noticed that the busier it is, the harder it is to tell what's on it, because the image gets so reduced. And I was like, well, how do I make mine stand out so that even though you can't see or read what it says on it, just the image of it alone will go, oh, I know who that is. And I think some of the best channel logos are the ones that do exactly that. The ones that you just, even just the color schematics of it automatically makes you recognize what they are. So I did put a little bit of thought behind what I was going to do when I decided to do it. But once I did, I said, this is it. I went with it. And, I figured with anything else, when it comes to branding, is the more consistent you are with your advertisement, the more recognition is going to get in the long run. But it's not going to happen overnight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Takes forever.
So right now in your guys' current location, and that was one of the things that I wanted to ask you, do you guys actually have a fish store, or is it just this is where you guys are just producing your food? Because I know I've seen you post videos and you have, like you showed, you have some aquariums in there, but those are just your personal aquariums, or what do you exactly is your facility?
So it's a warehouse, and this is the front. In the front, we've got a couple offices. And in the back, we've got like a big roll-up door and some loading area. And yeah, we produce stuff here and receive stuff, ship stuff to Amazon. Everything happens here. Yeah, and then I just try to make I wanted this room that I'm in to be like a showroom, like a gallery. Mm-hmm. And I kept trying to make it like super nice. And we've got like 2 little offices, and I was using those. And then I just thought, like, how about I just make this my office? So it's just like because no one's going to come and not talk to me anyway. So if people come, they're just coming to my office, and I've got some tanks in here, and it's not trying to be like, too formal or too much of a showroom.
So it's not necessarily a place where people would just come and try to buy. You're not selling fish. That's what I'm getting at, right? You're not. You're strictly just selling food. Because I know at some point, if I was reading the about stuff, it talked about you having a fish store. So I didn't know if that was something you still had, or now it's just solely become the fish food company, and you just like aquariums.
Yeah, no, we're not selling any fish or other products here. It's just kind of a showroom. And we're not selling directly to any customers. We're just wholesaling out of here. And we do ship our website orders from here too, directly to customers. But people don't really come in. Like fish store people, like owners and stuff, come in, and we'll do some meetings here. But yeah, if anybody wants to, just send me a message. I'm glad to have people over and show them around.
Well, I'm definitely hitting you up with the next time I'm in town, because I want to go see your facility.
Good. It's kind of in the opposite part of the valley from where you're coming from, that northeast corner of the 101. But yeah, it'll be fun. We got coffee, tea, soda. It's cool.
Now, as I know you were talking about trying to be more active on your social media. And I agree with Joe. I think any business, if you're not taking advantage of that free advertisement, you're really missing out. Especially like a new company like you guys. Well, relatively new. I mean, how long have you guys been in business? Since a couple of years now, or?
So this brand is about 2 years old, 2.5 years old now. But I've had the parent company since 2013, so 12 years. But my first aquarium company was in 2008. But the current one, 12 years old. It's pretty good. Yeah. So I saw you commented, and then I was like, okay, I need to do more social media. So I just messaged you and I was like, do you want to collab? And then you were like, sure. And I was like, okay. Okay, good.
Well, I wasn't sure. What I was hoping for is this, because I've never had an opportunity, the time that I've been doing these interviews, to actually talk to an owner of a company and be able to pick their brain and their thought process and what led up to the events of actually putting the product out. I find that very interesting. And I'm pretty sure most of the people here in the chat, that's why they're here too, because they want to learn more about what you're doing.
Oh,
and
cool.
So when you said let's do something, I was like, hell yeah, let's go. And that's why I said I was really happy that you accepted. And I was not expecting, to be able to try your stuff. That was a really nice added bonus. But in reality, was I wanted to have this conversation because I've always find that fascinating, especially not only because of the hobby, but just in general. Why I think at some point all of us or most of us play with the idea of potentially creating a business of our hobby. Here is obviously somebody who has prepared your entire life to do that, and to be able to have the opportunity to see what that was like, and kind of the trials and tribulations of doing that. I was not going to pass that opportunity up.
Well, I'll tell you my ultimate goal. I want to start an open ocean aquaculture company. That's why I went to study in Hawaii, and it's something that I've wanted to do forever, but it's like impossible to do. I mean, it's possible, but it's like really, really hard. Like growing fish for people to eat in cages in the ocean. And it's been like multiple decades that I'm planning that. And at some point in the next decades, I'm going to do that. So this is part of the journey to get there. I think in aquaculture, feed is a real choke point. There's a couple of choke points. So breeding. So where do you get the fish that you're growing in the cages? That's a choke point. And then the feeds are a choke point. And then the third one is like the equipment. And that's something that everything I do leads into. So one day I'll be able to launch that.
So this, because I'm not sure if I know what you're talking about. You're talking about like reproducing salmon in the open ocean and being able to feed them. Is that what you're trying? Is that the ultimate goal, or providing food for those types of farms?
The whole thing.
Sorry,
so like
glitch. I didn't hear.
Like growing.
I lost your. Oh, there it is.
Like growing tuna in the ocean in giant cages. I've got all sorts of different ideas about it. I think if you can get the cages to move across the ocean, you could start with baby fry on one side of the Pacific, and then by the time you get to Japan, they're full grown, and that's where you sell them. And then you put new baby fish in, and they're going back, and you got to get oceanographers, and you got to get, it's a giant team. It's a really big thing. I tried to get into it, but it's one of those things where like it's got to be, the timing's got to be right. And I need to have enough experience in business generally to do it right. And there's really awesome stuff going on with aquaculture. I think I really have a passion for the oceans. I feel like everybody just takes fish out of the ocean and sells it like it's their own, and there's no fish left. And there's just gonna be no fish left in the ocean in like 50 years. And I just want to do something about it. That's really like being passionate about the aquarium stuff is like, because aquarium have fish in them. But it's really the fish that I'm obsessed with. Like it's always
okay. Yeah, because I had no idea how. I've always heard about when they would farm salmon is usually what you hear about. But in one of my trips to Ensenada, we were driving along the coast, and there's a section where these huge rings were out there in the ocean. I don't know what they were at first, until I started asking around. And those are basically the pens where they're growing out the fish. And I thought, oh, that's pretty interesting. I've never really had given it much thought as to how people do the aquaculture out there in the ocean. Now, once I started looking into that, you kind of go into this little rabbit hole, and you start finding it seems like I found more negative information about doing that than positive information. But is that because the techniques that they're using are not the most adequate, or is it a lot of like everything else, you got to look past some information to be able to find the actual information?
I think legitimately there are a lot of problems with it right now. I think a lot of it's done wrong, especially the salmon, the North, like the European salmon farms. I just like, I won't eat that. I won't eat that stuff. It's so, like, we know because we have fish tanks, but like, come on, you can't, it's so gross. Like the way that they're doing it. So I don't know what bad stuff you saw, but there's, it's got,
well, some of the fish look like zombies.
See, I was thinking like tuna swim around the ocean. You can track where they go. You could implant like a tracker on them, and then like kind of ranch them, like free range.
Oh, okay.
And then pick them up when you need them. So I don't know. There's so many ways to do it that I feel like people aren't thinking about. They're not. I think it's going to be big, but we're not there yet. And
technology hasn't gotten to that point yet.
Yeah. But you could imagine, like, you could have unmanned cages going across the ocean, completely remote. Yeah. You could have, they could be self-cleaning. You could have, there's so much you could do. I just think it's so cool.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. So what's is the big issue right now, because those cages in themselves are not movable. They're kind of anchored into those areas, and that's what the high concentration of fish in that one area. Is that what a lot of the issues are coming from?
I think if you're going into the rabbit hole, that's probably going to be the initial bad stuff you see, because it's probably talking about like regulations about like the water quality because they're too dense, or this is in like this area that should be, it's hurting other species that are natural there. That's probably going to bubble up to the top of what you're going to see first. Mm-hmm. I don't really know like what the answer is. My simple answer is just move the cages around. And then also, like, who could complain if you're moving the cages around? Like, where, I don't know.
Yeah, that was always been interesting. And, like, again, I didn't go that far into it, but when I found out that that's what they were doing, it's like, once you start searching something on the internet, all of a sudden your feed starts getting more articles related to those topics. And that's where I was like, I don't know why it seems like most of what you get first is always going to be the negative stuff. And if you really want to find out more information, you got to dig further and further. And then you'll start finding, maybe articles that contradict what they're saying. But yeah, that was predominantly.
It's the fish lobbyists.
I think that's really what it boils down to, is who's putting out the most money for information, and whoever's paying for the most is the ones that usually get, pushed up to the top. But I do agree that we have to do something about it. Maybe even, I know a lot of the issues that have come up with that is how a lot of these species are harvested, and there's a lot of collateral damage with the current way that they're doing things sometimes. And I think that's where you have a lot of the opposition from the environmental groups is the fact that it's that they would prefer a more efficient method. And I think what you're talking about seems to be like something that they should probably look more into. And so that, I mean, we do it with cattle, we do it with livestock, where, you know, you got free range and you have open range ranching and stuff like that. And even those in itself do have some issues depending on where part of the country you're in. But yeah, I think if we're gonna continue to use those resources, we need to figure out a way to be able to put back into the system, if not more or equal to what we were pulling out of it. Because for many years, we just, like you said, we just been taking, which speaks volumes to how much is out there.
Yeah, and those environments are so different from how they used to be. Like where I grew up on the East Coast, they're like Cape Cod. There's no cod. You can't find any cod on Cape Cod anymore. It's like they're just gone. And I don't want it to be like for my kids to just they'll go to the beach and it's just only jellyfish or something. Like it's just like horrible. Like no, yeah. I don't know. That's something I'm super, super passionate about is, yeah, it's cool that we're talking about this because it's kind of far out subject, but it's something.
Oh, I know. Usually my interviews they always do these windy backcountry roads. They go everywhere, but I kind of like that because I think it's more interesting. I always learn something by having those conversations that sometimes kind of veer off a little bit, you know, in either direction. But J and N Aquatics, that's Naomi and Jeremy. They own a store in Tennessee, which I think they're interested in probably hooking up with you for I guess product wise. But
okay, cool.
Yeah, you can reach out to them or they can reach out to you. I think they just posted your channel. Thank you, Mandy. You know, your information is on your guys' your email and stuff like that is on your YouTube channel, or what would be the best way if people are trying to get a hold of you? Where can they go find your information, your contact information?
Message us on any platform. You can go to our website. You can go to aquaticprovisions.com. You could email info@aquaticprovisions.com. Like for wholesale stuff. I've got a wholesale price list for local fish stores. And the other thing we do is we guarantee, so when we're selling at a local fish store, if the food gets too close to the expiration and it's not sold, we'll just replace it for free because we don't want old food sitting on the shelves anywhere that has our brand on it. It's something that is kind of crazy. There's some stores, sometimes they can't check everything. So when our stuff goes out, we keep a record of the batch and the date. And then it like prompts me to say, this is too close to expiration. Let us swap it out. What else do we do? Make some t-shirts and little towels too. I've got some signs for stores. I got to do more stuff for stores. I'm working on stickers too.
Well, one of the things that I also bring awareness to the fact, especially if people are trying to reach out to you, is you guys are just a small business. Your staff consists of you and your family, and that's really right now what's running the operations, or do you have a full staff? I guess what I'm getting at is if people reach out to you and there's a delay in response, it's not because you're not acknowledging them, but it's because there's only so many hours in the day.
Tomorrow is Ladybug night at the kids' school, but I'll get back to you quickly. And I don't know what Ladybug night is. They're going to dress up like ladybugs or something, but we are busy. But we have two employees that we've had for like since 2019, and they're super, super awesome. And they're here now, and my wife's in the other office. But yeah, it's just a 4-person team right now. But I usually answer pretty quickly. If you're from a club and you're watching, I know I read the emails. I gotta write back because I need
correction on J and E. They're from Kentucky, not Tennessee.
Oh, Kentucky.
Yeah, they're from Kentucky.
Do they know Fish Hut LLC? Christian.
Jeremy, do you guys know Fish Hut?
I think he just sold it to someone, actually, that store.
Hmm.
But we have our stuff in a store in Kentucky, so that's awesome. 2 in Kentucky would be amazing. That's awesome.
Now, you guys are on all the social medias now. You guys are on Facebook. You guys are on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Well, at least the big ones, right?
Yeah, TikTok's doing really well. Our Instagram's like not that good. I'm not that good at making Instagram content, so I'm getting some help with that. And YouTube, yeah, I'm just trying to slowly build an audience. I gotta make better videos. Some of my stuff's kind of ASMR, the cleaning videos and stuff.
Yeah, no, I've kind of, it's funny because I've kind of been backwards. It's not until recently that I've actually started doing more stuff on Facebook. But for the longest time, what I've done, because I know like Instagram and TikTok, they're more of the short form kind of content. Under a minute is usually what does well there because people are just kind of like, going through it. So I don't do a whole lot of informational stuff. If I want to do something that's a little bit more long form, it's obviously going to be on YouTube, but that doesn't mean that I can't take clips from that and just do like a 30-second, like the videos that I watch you do on your YouTube. You could easily clip those and put them on Instagram and TikTok. And you're just repurposing the same material you already have. And just, so that people start becoming aware of you guys being out there. That's the biggest thing, is getting the name out and people recognizing what it is that you are.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay on top of that. I have a schedule. I had a schedule where it was every day, and then after like 2 months, I just couldn't do it because I had to like get in the back and like make fish food. And so now I'm like, if I'm posting twice a week on YouTube, I think that's good. And TikTok is weird. TikTok is kind of like, it's so unpredictable. Like
it's the Wild Wild West.
Yeah. I had a cleaning video, and then it got like 700,000 views in like one day. And I was like, that was the first time anything I made like ever got any views, basically. And I was like, whoa, this is so cool. But yeah, I'm lucky if I get like 500 views or something. And like my last 6 TikToks got like 50 views. So just keep doing it. I won't stop doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, it's like me. I don't have for a while there, I guess is the way what I've figured out is if you're trying to grow rapidly, obviously the more consistent you are with putting information out there, especially because you're a small channel. I'm not a big channel, but I'm still a real small channel. But the more consistent you are with putting stuff out there, the more these companies will try to push your videos or content out there. I'm horrible about consistency. I mean, last week I put out like 5 videos. This week I haven't done anything other than this interview. So but I'm not worried about it. My whole goal with this is not necessarily to grow overnight. I'm looking at this. This is a 10-year venture for me, because if I look at all the big content creators within our hobby, obviously, that's what I'm focusing on. Nobody made it overnight. Everybody has been consistently over a trajectory of certain amount of years. And as long as you regularly or consistently put stuff out there, but I'm not going to break myself and try to do something every week. I think just longevity, it just kind of helps you put out there. So, but I'm very conscious of that. So it's not like I have a goal that, by the end of this year, I need to be at X amount of subscribers. I've never treated this like this. My whole take onto this has been, I'll do it when I have an opportunity to do it, or as long as I still enjoy doing it. The minute that becomes a second job or something like that, then it's going to lose its appeal and I'm not going to want to do it. So for me, it's worked out. You being a brand, Obviously, you don't want to take my advice because you want to be able to grow much quicker. And you know,
Yeah.
your goal is totally different because you're trying to encompass a market. So
the advice I need is how to be good at it more than like
practice. It's just practice. Practice. I think the biggest things are audio. Audio is the biggest complaint that I consistently hear from people and from content creators. The worst thing you can do is bad audio on a video, because then people will lose interest on what you're trying to say because they can't hear what's going on. And if you go back and look at all my videos for the last 2 years, audio is horrible because there's background noise that's annoying. I had this air pump. Matter of fact, this little sucker here, which is extremely loud. Don't recommend it for anybody that's trying to create content. You would have to shut it off because you hear this high pitched humming noise in the background of all my videos. It wasn't until I addressed some of those issues that my audio quality got a little bit better. The other thing is image, a good camera, and I don't see that being a problem with your guys' videos. I think the clarity is on there is perfect. You don't do a whole lot of talking on your videos, so that's never been an issue. A lot of it is more visual stuff that you're doing, and then you usually put a little bit of music over whatever it is you're doing. So, but I think more of anything is just, you know, brand awareness out there, being out there, doing stuff like this is a great help for you guys because it helps you present your brand, sell your brand. I'm a true believer in that. So the more opportunities you get to be able to get out in front of an audience, the better off you guys are going to be as a company because it brings more awareness. I love the fact, like to me as a consumer, just being able to reach out and say, hey, you know what? I think this is great, but if you did this, maybe, in my opinion, this change, it would make it better. I think having that opportunity is something that we don't have access to with any of the other companies.
That's the most valuable thing for us too. And I don't really wish it, but like, please tell me what is bad about our food and just let me know how it could be better. And if we get more feedback like that, we can make it better. And like, that's the best feedback is when someone says like, oh, there's an issue. There's something wrong with the product. This is it. And then there's nothing more valuable to me than that. Cause then when I do another version, it's going to be better.
Yeah.
Like it's really valuable. It's like the number one thing I need is negative feedback because we get enough, people saying they like it, but specifics, that's the best. I was asking when I was at the Chlorophyll Corner, I was asking like, what did people not like about it? And I had to like really dig. And they were like, oh, one person said, actually, I don't remember. And and I was like, oh, it's okay. I truly want to know how we could improve it.
Well, yeah, I think people understanding that that's something you guys are really receptive to is you'll definitely start getting some feedback. Like I said, one of the things that was so fascinating to me when I saw that video, and I wish I had seen that video before me doing my video on it. It wasn't until afterwards that I came across his video. Oh, God, it's bothering me that can't remember his channel because I love to give him credit for it.
Is a YouTuber?
Yeah, he's a YouTuber. I think he's still relatively new because he's like maybe has over 1,000 subscribers. It's bothered me, and I think I've talked about his channel in the past too, but I would have to go in there and look up the video. Wait, if you give me a second, why am I trying to struggle when I have the internet at the tip of my fingers? Because I think that was the one thing that really stood out to me is the fact that he was talking about the fact that you guys wanted to get that feedback, and I was like, whoa, this is totally different from anything else that I've heard from a food company. It's MA Fish Guy Aquarium.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I talked to him.
Yeah. And he used to be Vikings Aquatics, I guess. That's what it is. He changed his
Yeah,
name.
he was active like a decade ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, like I said, and when I heard that, I was like, oh, that's something I hadn't heard about before. And so that's why I was like, cool. I need to ask John about that stuff. So, but yeah, he's the one that when I saw his video, I was like, oh, I wish I would have known that, because I would have added that to the video that I did and said, yeah, reach out to them. But if you buy the product, what is it you liked about it? What didn't you like about it? And because I think that's going to be, useful information, like the information you're seeking.
Yeah, we're trying to discover new things. Just make improvements in the whole market. So that's where it comes from. It comes from people that are annoyed about a product, like one little thing about this, product. I don't know, like think of any product that's annoying to open or something like that.
Yeah.
And then,
well, like I told you, one of the biggest issues was their container. Trying to get your hand in here, it makes it real difficult. You can't get to the bottom of this jar to be able to retrieve. So I know they provide you with a little scoop and all that stuff, but those are little things that it kind of goes, oh, I like the food, but sometimes, I don't know, you're in a hurry and you don't want to be fumbling with stuff. Like I said, one of the biggest things that has been really interesting to me is the fact that I can just pop and boom, 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 feed whatever it is that I need to feed and get on with it. I thought that's been one of the biggest things that I've surprisingly didn't realize that I liked about the product is how the delivery method.
Nice.
So
yeah, we actually got knocked off pretty quickly after only like a year, and then another brand like copied exactly our like the style of our cap, and I was like, oh, I guess we did something right. So that's good that we got knocked off. That means we're doing something right.
Although it could be a little bit frustrating if it's a bigger company that has more marketing, and it's kind of like, oh, that's the problem with sometimes with having original ideas, is then you not being able to get credited for what you've done.
Yeah,
so.
It's okay. Well, we hustle enough. It's more about the hustle than the idea, I think. So whoever can execute better should win, in my opinion. And I'm not really worried about it. I'm flattered. Yeah. It looks yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. You were saying?
You could tell it's not our brand. It's not like a blatant, it's not like a knockoff. It's just like, oh, that's trying to be really similar to us, but it's okay.
Now, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about that we haven't been able to discuss, that you were going, I better say something about this now that I got the opportunity to do it?
Not really. I'm sure I'll think of it like later.
That always happens to me. Every time I decide to go, and as soon as we hit the back room, it's like, oh, I should ask you about this, or I should ask you about that. But it never fails. But it's still, there's always opportunity to come back and revisit and continue a conversation. So that's not an issue.
I do want to say thank you so much for having me on and doing this. It's really great. Like, I'm really happy to be on. And if you want to do it again, or if you do it with more people, I'm open usually in the afternoon anytime. So
yeah, no, actually, if anybody has to thank anybody, it's me, because without having guests, I don't have this, so I always very appreciative of the fact of people that accept my invitation to come on and give me the opportunity to have that conversation. So no, reality is, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your product with us. And, hopefully in the near future, I'll be able to go visit you guys' facility. And if you don't mind, if you allow me to record some of the stuff you guys are doing, that'll be great too. But
I think it'll be fun.
With that being said, I kind of want to thank everybody that was here with us today. Again, thank you guys so much for the constant support. Just like my guest, without you guys here, well, this doesn't really work. And nobody watches this, and what's the point? But I've been very fortunate. People have been supporting me almost since the inception of this, and I just can't say thank you enough. And we'll be seeing you guys on Friday. I'm going to be having Paul from This Way to the Aquarium, and I'm really interested in talking to him. He's got a couple other channels that he's had before, so I'm really interested to see why he decided to do a fish channel. But with that being said, unless you have anything else to say, I guess we could wrap it up.
No, thank you so much, and thanks everybody for watching too.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. Hopefully you get some context out of this, and and more people inquiring about you guys' product. With that being said,
we'll get together soon. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys, thank you guys, and we'll see you guys on Friday. You guys take care. Let's end this.